I died just after my daughter took her very first breath. Her cry still echoed in the room when my breath left me. In the moment they thought I had slipped into peaceful sleep, I found myself stepping into a place no one prepares for, no map, no way back. But why did I see light when I should have seen darkness? Why did I hear truths I had never learned, and feel love in a place where there were no family, no doctors, not even my own body? Maybe life does not begin the moment we are born, but the moment we remember why we were born. And if death is not the end, then what is it? My name is Elena Monroe. I am 27 years old and a second-grade teacher in Santa Fe, the city where I grew up wrapped in my mother's arms and in her morning prayers to Our Lady of Guadalupe. I am not superstitious, but I have always believed in a quiet gentleness that has saved me more times than I can count from dangers that seemed small until they turned deadly. My name was not chosen randomly. It was a whispered promise my mother made to the Virgin Mary before I was born. When doctors said I had little chance of survival, she vowed that if I came safely into the world, I would carry the name of the one who protected me. Ever since I was a child, I felt something inside me connected to light. Not the ordinary kind of light, but a soft, golden one that almost seemed to have a sound, like it was whispering. I used to think it was just the imagination of a lonely child, but the moment I left my body after giving birth, that light came back. This time it wasn't in my mind. It was real, alive, and it held me in an embrace without form, but filled with love. So what was that light? Where did it come from? And why did it choose me? Could it be that each of us carries an invisible memory that only begins to unfold after we die? And if that's true, who wrote that memory into my soul? What was waiting for me beyond the light? I will recount exactly what happened the moment my soul left the operating room, when I saw my own body lying still and witnessed things no doctor could ever explain. Before I died, I was a young woman full of ideals, someone who loved teaching as deeply as I loved the children I treated like my own. Every morning, I woke to the sound of birds on the roof blending with my alarm, sunlight streaming gently through the curtains. I walked into my classroom and was greeted by curious little faces filled with wonder and hope. I taught math through poetry, language through feeling, and life through love. I was someone who tried to live kindly, who practiced gratitude for even the smallest things, from a student's smile to the quiet moments waiting for my mother to bring lunch to school. I wasn't perfect, but I believed I was good enough, moral enough, hard-working enough that life wouldn't be unfair to me. I followed the rules and I did my best, and if I did everything right, could life still punish me with death the very moment I became a mother for the second time? They say that if you live well, good things will come. I lived that way. So why did I still die? My life before that fateful day wasn't filled with tragedy. It was more like a gentle melody, steady and seemingly safe. I met my husband at an education seminar in Albuquerque. He was quiet, kind, and had eyes that seemed to see through the surface and into the deeper parts of who I was. We loved each other with respect, with summers spent teaching underprivileged children, and with a shared belief that our little family would be peaceful enough to raise our children with compassion. Our first child came almost 3 months early. I nearly died during that birth. The doctors warned me that trying again might be too much for my body to handle. But my heart didn't listen to reason. I always felt that another soul was waiting for me, like someone calling from the other side, in a language I couldn't understand but could feel. So is it possible that our children choose us before they're born? That we don't bring them into this world, but are chosen by them for the journey ahead? I didn't have answers at the time, but I trusted my instincts, and every part of me knew I needed to welcome this second child. So I carried this pregnancy with a strange blend of fear and joy. Each passing week, a tightrope walk between medical data and a quiet faith that this baby had a reason to exist. By week 35, doctors diagnosed me with signs of preeclampsia. My blood pressure rose, protein showed in my urine, and my body began to swell. I was placed under close monitoring. While everyone around me seemed panicked, I felt an eerie calm settle over me, as if a part of me already knew this moment would come, as if I had been through this before. Could it be that the soul carries memories that linger even when we can't recall them? And if so, who holds those memories, and why do they awaken so clearly in moments when life hangs by a thread? I remained in the hospital awaiting delivery. The doctors scheduled an early cesarean, warning that waiting could endanger both me and the baby. I wasn't afraid of pain. I was afraid I wouldn't live to see my child grow up. But ironically, the very moment I finally laid eyes on her was also the moment I left this world. And what I saw next shattered everything I thought I knew about life, about death, and the soul. I will tell you exactly what happened the moment I stepped out of my body, and why I didn't even realize I had died until I saw what I'm about to describe. The night before delivery, I could barely sleep, not from fear, but from the overwhelming sense that something was shifting. Not in my body, but in the very air around me, in the rhythm of my heart, in the silent gaps between the beeps of the monitors. It felt as though something was preparing to happen, something greater than I could name, as if the world itself was slowing down to make space for something vast to arrive. I remember my mother sitting beside me, holding my hand, whispering prayers the way she had since I was in her womb. But this time, I didn't hear her with my ears. I heard her with my entire body. Every cell seemed to vibrate with her words, as if I were no longer just a mother about to give birth, but something else was being born through me, not just physically, but spiritually. I turned to look at her, at the silver strands woven through the hair of the woman who had sacrificed her whole life for me. And a thought flashed through my mind. If this was the last time I would see that face, would I accept it or resist it? I wondered then, do we receive warnings before death draws near? Not in visions, but in feelings, in quiet signals only the soul can recognize. The next morning, I was taken into the delivery room. The white lights, the smell of antiseptic, the steady rhythm of machines, all of it unfolded exactly as planned. I gave birth safely. My daughter let out her first cry in the doctor's arms, and I saw her smile for the first time. It was a moment beyond anything I had ever known, even though it lasted only seconds. After the birth, doctors scheduled a tuboligation for health reasons. The paperwork was signed quickly. Everything was explained thoroughly, but my mind was already drifting. I remember thinking, it's over, my baby is healthy, I'm going to be fine. But I was wrong. As the nurse double-checked the anesthesia and prepared for the second round of sedation, I felt something shift in my body. It was as if I were being pulled out of myself, as if the skin and bones that had always held me no longer belonged to me. I heard someone call my name, but the sound echoed from somewhere far away, and then I heard nothing at all. The world fell silent, and only the light remained. It wasn't a blinding light. It was soft, flowing, wrapping around me like warm water. And suddenly, I saw myself from above. So what was that light, and how could I be outside of my own body without even knowing I had died? If the soul truly can leave the flesh, what holds it in place? What makes it return or drift away forever? I will describe the exact moment I found myself suspended in the air, and why I didn't recognize that the person lying on the operating table was me. I found myself floating above the cold, sterile operating room, suspended in the air beneath the harsh white lights, while the steady beeping of the vital sign monitor began to slow. There was something strange yet familiar about it, as if I had been there before, not in body, but in another part of me. A part that didn't need oxygen to exist, that didn't rely on a heartbeat to live. I saw my own body lying on the table, pale, eyes closed, a breathing tube in my mouth. The doctors were working quickly. A nurse softly whispered my name. But I felt no pain, no fear, only detachment. Why could I see everything like an outsider and still not realize I had left myself behind? And if I were no longer inside my body, then who or what was I in that moment? It didn't feel like a dream. It didn't feel like a nightmare. It was sharp, detailed, absolutely real. I could see my name displayed on the monitor. I saw my mother through the glass window holding my newborn daughter. I tried to call out to them, to tell them I was still here, but no one heard. So is it possible that when we die, we remain close to the world we left behind, just invisible to the eyes of the living? And if that's true, how many souls are still lingering near us, just trying to say one last word they never had the chance to speak? Then I felt something pulling me out of the room. It wasn't gravity. It wasn't downward. It was a force of feeling, a direction I could not name but somehow understood. It was like a calling, not made of sound, but of pure energy, a summons without words that I still somehow recognized. I was pulled into a thick darkness, not a frightening void, but a silence so complete that it erased the noise of machines, the rhythm of breath, the very sense of time. All that remained was existence in its purest form. And then, in the center of that stillness, a single point of light appeared. At first, it flickered faintly like a firefly. Then it began to expand slowly, like a sunrise unfolding from within my soul. This light didn't blind me. It didn't come from outside me at all. It rose from deep within, not shining onto my awareness, but piercing through it, illuminating not just what I saw, but what I was. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had belonged to it once. So what was that light? Or more accurately, who or what was it? Was it the beginning or the end? Was it God, the universe, my truest self, or something greater than all of those combined? I drifted toward that light like a speck of dust dissolving into sunlight. I had no body, no name, no limits. But just as I believed I was about to disappear forever, something unexpected happened. Something even more powerful than the light stopped me. And next, I will tell you exactly what held my soul back from dissolving and the real reason I was sent back, despite not wanting to return. What held me wasn't a hand, it wasn't a voice, it wasn't a command. It was a presence, a field of energy without form but filled with weight. It had no sound, yet it silenced me completely. It didn't ask if I wanted to continue. It didn't force me to turn around. It was simply like a gate, like an open-ended question that needed no reply. And somehow, I understood. In some unspoken way, it knew everything about me, every thought I had ever had, every fear, every fragment of memory I had tried to bury, every tiny moment I thought no one had noticed. How could a nameless, shapeless, voiceless being know all of that about me? Could it be that we were never truly alone, only too distracted to sense what has always surrounded us? I stood before that light not with my feet, but with my entire being. I didn't tremble, I wasn't overwhelmed. I was simply illuminated, not through my eyes, through the truth itself. And that truth didn't accuse me, it didn't condemn me. It simply let me see myself completely, without disguise, without running. I saw that every time I pretended to be okay in front of my students. Every night, I cried silently in the bathroom so no one would hear. I saw myself smiling at my daughter while my heart carried the weight of silent fears. But I also saw the beautiful things I had forgotten. The hugs I gave freely, the forgiveness I offered without being asked, the moments I chose kindness over being right. So maybe, when we die, we're not judged by some distant God, but by the purest light that has always lived within our soul. And if that's true, then could every small choice we make carry eternal weight without us ever realizing it? I don't know how long I stood in that light, because time no longer existed the way we understand it. It could have been seconds. It could have been a lifetime. It could have been many lifetimes. But then, from the deepest part of that presence, a message came to me, not through words, not through visions, but through a feeling as unmistakable as truth itself. Not yet. I didn't ask why. I didn't resist. I simply felt that something was unfinished, like a page left unturned, a story paused before its ending. But what made me want to return wasn't the idea that I had work to do. It was something far more mysterious. I had seen something no one would expect. Something I witnessed within that light was a vision that made me understand why my daughter had chosen me to be her mother, and why death was not the end, but the beginning of a soul-level promise deeper than blood. When that presence told me it wasn't time yet, I didn't ask why, but I could feel a shift, as if a current of energy had quietly changed direction. Instead of dissolving into the light, I felt myself being lifted in a movement that had no force, no weight. I wasn't falling or flying, but drifting toward a different space, a realm no longer filled with brilliant light, but with a soft, pearlescent glow, like light wrapped in silence. In that space, I was no longer a mother, a teacher, no longer Elena Monroe. I was simply a unit of awareness, a fragment of soul being allowed to witness something I had never imagined while alive. In front of me appeared a vision, not the world as we know it, but a neutral space where memories floated freely like suspended fragments. I saw myself at every age, during every significant moment. I saw my father holding me as a newborn. I saw my mother praying in the dark when I had a fever. I saw myself wrestling with the idea of leaving the classroom because the burden felt too heavy. But what held my gaze most was the image of a small soul, a warm pink light, standing beside me in every one of those memories. I didn't know how I knew, but I knew. It was my daughter. Could it be that she had chosen me long before I even knew she existed? Had her soul been walking with mine through lifetimes, observing, waiting for the right moment to be born? And if that was true, how many children come to us not by chance, but by a promise made long ago? The moment I realized her soul had been present beside me even before her birth, a current surged through my awareness, not like a shock, but a connection. I understood then that I was not just her mother in this life. Perhaps I had been her mother before, or her sister, or her guide. What I felt was a love that went far beyond blood, a love untouched by time or form, the kind of love that exists when two souls recognize each other. And when I asked silently, "Why did you choose me?" the answer didn't come in words. It came as a feeling. Because once you saved me. That answer overwhelmed me with emotion deep within my invisible awareness. And I wondered, if the soul remembers what the brain cannot, then how many acts of love we once gave still live on in someone without us ever knowing? I was shown a timeline where souls choose their journeys, where they sit with a kind of council to select their parents, their birthplace, their trials, and the lessons they wish to learn. And I saw myself, fully aware, fully willing, agreeing to take on the experience of motherhood, even knowing it would mean facing death. That meant my death wasn't an accident. It was a choice I had made long before. But if I chose it, why couldn't I remember? And more importantly, what lesson was I trying to learn? I will tell you what I was shown about soul contracts, how we choose the conditions of our lives, and why some souls never return, while others are willing to come back no matter how many times they have to die. I was taken to another space. There were no visuals, but the emotions were vivid. No concrete scenery, but everything was crystal clear in feeling. In that space, I sensed the presence of other souls not through sight, but through vibration. Each soul had its frequency, like a musical note in a symphony far greater than I could yet comprehend. Some souls felt deeply familiar, not because I had met them in this life, but because my soul remembered them from somewhere distant, yet intimately close, like seeing a childhood friend whose name you've forgotten, but whose presence instantly feels like home. I began to realize I hadn't lived just one life, but many, not sequentially, but all at once, not in a straight line, but layered over each other. It was as if my soul were a reel of film being fast reversed through countless screens playing simultaneously. I saw myself as a little girl in Africa, a soldier in Europe, a mother in a small village deep in the rainforest. Each life was a lesson. Each lesson was a fragment. And that fragment was why I stood here now, in this timeless void. So, if all our soul's memories still exist, why don't we remember them when we return to the physical world? Could it be that forgetting is part of the design, so that without forgetfulness, the lesson would lose its power?
And if we remembered too soon, would the lesson still hold its meaning?
I was shown a concept called a soul contract, a sacred agreement made before birth, where we choose who will appear in our lives, the pain we will endure, and the challenges we will face, not as punishment, but as a path to evolution. I saw myself signing that contract with a feeling both gentle and solemn, as if I knew exactly what was coming and still chose it willingly. Could it be that every wound we've ever carried wasn't a mistake, but an essential part of the soul's design? And if that's true, how many people are blaming life, cursing fate, or losing hope simply because they've forgotten they once said yes? I began to feel something shifting in the energy around me. It was subtle at first, like the soft return of time into a place where time didn't exist. A thin line began forming between the two worlds. I understood then that my time in this realm was coming to an end, and a choice was approaching, not between life and death, but between continuing deeper into clarity or returning to fully live the lesson I had chosen. But if I went back, would I still remember everything I had seen? I will tell you about the hardest decision my soul has ever made, and the strange, sacred moment when I re-entered my body, where pain and divinity collided like a second birth into life. I don't know how, but I understood that I was being invited to make a decision not through words, but through the whole of my being. It wasn't a command, it wasn't forced, but the weight of it was greater than anything I had ever faced. I felt two distinct paths unfolding like opposing waves. One was the path of continuation, where the light called me forward into a realm beyond ego, where I could dissolve into infinite unity and never return to the pain I had once known. The other was the path back to the world where I had cried in silence, doubted myself, and died. A world that was imperfect and unpredictable, but also the world where my mother's arms were waiting, where my daughter's laughter still echoed, where a small classroom of children would look for me every morning. I didn't need much time to decide. The moment my daughter's face appeared in my mind, her wide eyes searching for me, I knew my heart had chosen long before my mind had a chance to speak. But one question still lingered. If I returned, would I be able to hold on to everything I had just experienced? Or would it all fade like a dream, like a fairy tale no one believes? And if I told the truth, who would listen? Who would believe me? Who would call me crazy? I didn't know, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stay silent. The moment I chose to return wasn't marked by sound or sudden movement. The light simply began to dim. I felt myself flowing backward like a river returning to its source. The images of the operating room came back into focus. The machines beeped again. A nurse called my name. And then came the pain, sharp, overwhelming, as if every cell in my body were being torn open. But even inside the pain, I knew I was back. I opened my eyes without knowing where I was. I saw the stunned faces of the doctors. I heard my mother's voice breaking into sobs. "She's awake. My baby's awake." I didn't know how long I had been gone, how many minutes I had technically died. But one thing was certain, I was no longer the Elena I used to be. So what happens in the moment the soul re-enters the body? Can it fully rejoin the physical form after being separated? And why do some people come back with strange new abilities, heightened senses, intuitive knowing, perceptions that defy logic? In the next part, I will share the mysterious changes I experienced, from prophetic dreams to the ability to feel other people's emotions, and why I believe no one truly comes back the same as they were before they left. I returned to my body as if slipping back into an old coat I hadn't worn in years. It was familiar yet foreign, light yet heavy. Every breath felt like it had to be relearned. Every movement required my body's permission. In the first days after I woke up, I barely spoke, not because I was too tired, but because I had no words for what I had just experienced. How do you describe something that exists beyond time and space? How do you put into language an encounter that makes all language fall short? I looked at my daughter, so small and fragile in my mother's arms, and I realized life is not something we receive at birth.
It is something we are given again after we've passed through death. I looked around the hospital room and saw people going about their routines, footsteps hurrying past, machines beeping in rhythm, and I wondered how many of them had crossed that boundary but never found a way to speak of it. Could this world be filled with souls who came back but were never quite the same, only unable to tell their story because there are no words that can hold it? I began to dream strange dreams, visions of places I had never been, of languages I had never studied. One night, I woke with tears streaming down my face, mourning the parting of two souls I had never met, but whose sorrow I felt as if I had lived their lives. In the weeks that followed, I returned to teaching, but I was no longer the same teacher. I no longer taught from the textbook. I taught through stories, through compassion, through the silent gazes I saw in the eyes of my students. That, I realized, often needed more than test scores.
I began to sense the emotions of my students just by standing near them. I could tell which child had cried the night before, which one was hiding sorrow behind those wide, uncertain eyes. So could it be that after death, a door to awareness opens a door that had always been closed? And if that's true, why do some people return with the ability to heal, with heightened intuition, with messages they were never taught? I don't call it a gift. I see it as a reward, a quiet grace given to the soul that dared to face truth, that chose to stay with the lesson instead of walking away halfway through. But there is one thing I have kept to myself, something I have never shared before. It was the moment just before I left the light. I heard a sentence, not from a voice, but spoken directly into my awareness. You will tell it not to be believed, but so that those who are lost may remember. And now I will share the deepest truth I learned in that place of light, the truth that changed how I live, how I love, and how I let go. The truth taught me that what we're searching for is not far away. It's always been here, waiting inside every moment we dare to live honestly with ourselves. I used to believe that death was the end, a cold threshold where everything we love is taken from us. But after what I experienced, I understand now that death doesn't take anything away. It gives us back what we forgot, true life. Since the day I returned, I have lived as if every moment carries something sacred. I no longer ask whether life is fair. I only ask myself, have I lived honestly? Have I loved with my whole heart? Have I let go of what was never mine to hold? I don't tell people I died. I simply say that I touched a part of the truth, a part that cannot be seen with eyes or measured with reason. The biggest change wasn't in my dreams or senses, but in how I saw other people. I began to see pain in their eyes, to hear the voice of their soul behind their words. I realized that behind anger is often a fear that hasn't healed, and behind coldness is a wound no one has noticed. So maybe we're all carrying untold stories, unspoken grief, and if someone would just listen, this world could grow a little softer. I write this story not to be believed, but so that those who've had similar experiences won't feel so alone. I write for those who feel lost, to remind them that their soul chose this path for a reason deeper than they may yet understand. And if they find the courage to keep going, they'll discover that the light never leaves. It only hides until we are ready to see it. When I first woke up in the operating room, I asked why I had come back. I don't ask anymore. I simply live as if fulfilling a promise, a vow made long before I was born. Maybe you don't believe in the soul, or in reincarnation, or in past life memory. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether you are willing to live each day fully, to love without condition, to forgive what was never apologized for. And if one day you feel lost, just ask yourself one question. If I once chose this life, what was I trying to learn? Because maybe, just like me, you didn't come here to avoid death. You came to learn how to truly live. And maybe the light isn't waiting at the end of the road, but in the way you choose to walk it. I used to think what happened to me was a rare moment meant only for me, a personal experience that could never be repeated. But the longer I've lived, the more I realize that awakening doesn't come from dying once. It comes from how we listen to life each day. Some people have never left their bodies, yet live as if their souls are asleep. Some pass through life without ever stopping to ask, "What am I living for?" After coming back, I began to quietly observe, not just others, but myself. Every emotion, every reaction, every moment I wanted to lash out or walk away, I asked myself, what in me is still unhealed? What old fear am I still replaying? And if I had seen my soul, why was I still letting my ego lead? I began to write in a journal, not to retell the past, but to begin a conversation with myself, with the deepest part of me I had met in the light. Each morning I asked, if today were my last day, would I be living true to my soul? I started choosing simplicity, choosing silence over arguing, forgiveness over bitterness, truth over comfort. Because I knew that every time I chose what was right, my soul grew lighter, and I moved a little closer to that light. But I also began to wonder if the soul is eternal. Do our choices today leave permanent imprints upon it? And if our soul is the sum of every action, every thought, then each day we live is writing the next chapter of our destiny beyond death. I no longer fear dying. What I fear is living without awareness. I fear having to return just to relearn the lessons I avoided. Maybe pain lasts not because fate is cruel, but because we resist change. Maybe reincarnation is not punishment, but another chance to love more deeply. I cannot claim to know these things for certain, but I know this. If you're reading or hearing these words, you are not here by accident. Your soul brought you to this moment, because maybe you're standing at a threshold, not of death, but of inner rebirth. So, what will you choose? To keep living the old way, or to begin again? Not by leaving everything behind, but by returning to yourself. And if you choose to begin, remember this: the light does not come from outside. It awakens from within, through the courage to live truthfully, even if only for a single moment each day.